Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the early start edition of Monday night's Fools Rush In. On a day where even the things that are outside of Swindon Town's control go spectacularly badly for us. I just don't even know anymore. There just never seems to be. Well, I say there never seems to be any good news, but that is wrong, because the two people that have prompted us to start early today, or at least two of the three people that have prompted us to start early today, bring with them good news. Their sheer existence as a group and the electric backing that they've had in the last week has at least brought a sense of maybe we're getting somewhere to the occasion. So let's not mess about. We're throwing out the script. We're getting rid of all the usual niceties like the intro questions, and we're getting straight down to business. But as always, we are live on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. So if you want to get your questions in and answered by the guys, you can send them into the chat, like Jason has done with his good evening on X. Evening, Jason, hope you're well. And Sean on Facebook, hope you are well as well, sir. Let's get them straight on then. Good evening to both Dan and Terry.
Evening, Fifey.
Hello,
guys.
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, all good.
Excellent. And I'm not alone. He had the sense that I might not be 100% today, and Woody has decided to help out in case Windows updates get involved once again and cause me to disappear.
Yeah. Or if anybody from my work realizes that I'm on this tonight, I'm feeling better now. I'll be back in tomorrow. But yeah. I'm good to see. I'm really looking forward to tonight, actually, because sometimes it's quite hard to keep up with Twitter feeds and all of that kind of stuff. Yes, I still call it Twitter. Twitter feeds and stuff like that to catch up with. So it'd be good to hear it from, with no disrespect, the horse's mouth as well. So of what exciting plans we have.
No, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So as I say, if you do have any questions you specifically want the guys to answer, let us know and put it in the chat, and we will do everything we can to get everything answered as promptly as we can. Well, I suppose it's easy to start at the beginning, but what I really want to know is this the Dan Hunt that has been mentioned time and time again in the latest advert post?
Yeah, guilty as charged.
Clem really wants to go full title with you, doesn't he?
As is right. You know, we go full title with him. You know, I just ask that he's respectful and we are respectful in return. So there we go.
Absolutely. So, Terry, we've just had the briefest of chats before we went live, and I suppose the first thing I really want to know is when you guys came up with this idea and sort of an image of how it would go. We're not quite, but more or less a week on from the official announcement. Has it caught you by surprise, the swell of support you've had, or is it kind of what you're expecting?
I think, to be really honest with you, last week was pretty overwhelming. I think for Dan, Rich, and I in terms of the response. When we chatted last weekend about some of the frustrations we have. We talk constantly as a three and in wider WhatsApp groups as well about our frustrations and the nonsense and silliness and this constant stream of provable incompetence that we see at our club. And I just think, we've been playing around with this idea for, I don't know, 8 weeks maybe. And I just think ultimately it was always going to reach a point where as a really, really small slither of the fan base, the three of us in our direct community, we were always going to get to a point where there was a straw that broke the camel's back. There was that spark in the tinder box. And I think that was last weekend. There was so many elements within a 48-hour period that it was just one step too far with just the sheer incompetence both on and off the field that we're seeing all around us constantly now. And I just think that was the final straw really. And I said to you off mic, Fifey, when we were waiting to come on. In some respects, the support has proven that, if anything, we were too late on this. We were the first to put our heads above the parapet. Yeah. If anything, we were too late. I think there's so much pent up frustration and disappointment in the fan base that as soon as I don't think it's much to do about us as people. I think as soon as anybody sort of got their heads together and built something. With an identity and with a comm strategy and with a plan, I think it was gonna sort of snowball really quickly. And yeah, last week was wild. We had that little cheeky teaser on Monday night with the statue and the hat, which was just so we're clear was photoshopped. We didn't touch Don's head without permission. And then we went live Monday, and then we reached over 200,000 people on Tuesday alone. In terms of impressions, only on X. That's before you even look at Insta and Facebook and earned media through our fellow STFC community members at the Moonraker and at the Adver and with you guys and LS Pod. The way that it snowballed really sort of caught us off guard, but also just proved that it was time. It was time for us to, as a community, sort of get our heads together and start healing again. And then the hats thing, it's just gone berserk. Like we're very very lucky to be working with a couple of people behind the scenes, some in public, some not, who have been incredibly helpful in 2 or 3 different logistical ways. But to go from a grain of sand of an idea on Monday night to selling 350 bobble hats and raising $5,000 by Thursday night, which is basically where we were, it's just massively overwhelming. And now it's just all about the community turning up in the real world. Now we've turned up digitally, we've turned up on social. We're going to keep the campaign going with the content. We're going to keep our bad event calendar going to remind everybody of all of this utter incompetence around us. But most importantly, we've just got to ask for the fan base and the community to turn up on December 21st. That's the key thing now. All of this pales into insignificance if it's just 20 or 30 of us there. If it's 300, 400, 500, 600, it becomes unignorable, and ultimately that's what we're striving for here.
No, absolutely. Dan, there's been many times where you in particular get spoken about on FRI. Normally it's after you've posted something on Twitter or you've appeared on OSC, and I've described you as a spirit animal because you say exactly what I want to say, but in a much better way than I can say it. When Terry and I were talking before, I said it was always going to be a case of no one wants to be that first one to the party, but as soon as someone turns up, everyone else would. Did you ever think you would be kind of one of the three heads of that party that would get everyone going?
It's kind of in my nature, particularly in the sporting arena, be it cricket or football. I've always tended to be a doer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, cricket captain, cricket committees, supporters trust boards. It's what fires me up. It's what gets me up in the morning. Is the fact, you know, we're just normal people, right? And we're trying to save the thing we love, which is Swindon Town Football Club, and ensure that my children and their children have still got a Swindon Town Football Club they can be proud of in 30 years and 60 years, and, you know, beyond that, when, you know, me and Terry will be long gone. So yeah, I think between the three of us, and we have kind of been confidants to each other over the last period, and it just got to the point, the Morecambe weekend, the manner of the defeat against the bottom team in League Two, the manner of the programme mistake, it really was the sort of spark moment. And just to echo what Terry said, the response from fans online and in person at Accrington has been magnificent. It's been really affirming for Terry, Rich, and I as well. And like Terry said, probably gone a bit late, if anything. But yeah, the amount of people that put their hands up to be volunteers, the amount of people that want to help financially or in just small ways, putting us in touch with local businesses who can help with various bits. Just really overwhelming. I'm just proud. I'm proud of this fan base. We've been saying for 5 or 6 years now, you know, all of that content, all the media, all the supporters trust, supporters clubs, like, it's a really active and plural scene, Swindon Town fan base, and that's our strength, and that's what's going to carry us through. Well, because we will win, and if that's in the National League or if that's in League Two, we will come through.
We have already received a number of comments. So what I'll do is I will bring these up on screen so you can see them, and leave the floor kind of open to you guys at this point to answer what you can. Where shall we start? Let's go with Andrew Perkins, who says, have you had any contact with potential buyers, or will that be left to the trust?
That's a really good question, Andrew. It's something that's cropped up a couple of times here. I think realistically, when you look at the core skills that Dan, Rich, and I have, and that we've tried to sort of knit together, and we covered this off briefly in our FAQs posts last week, because we know this is going to be a recurring theme of feedback. None of the three of us are even remotely qualified to find parties who can acquire a 10 million, 12 million pound business, however whatever it's valued at now, right? Depending on what model you're using to value it. And nor are we remotely qualified to step that organisation or that deal through any sort of due diligence. It's just not what we're here to do. We're very, very much focused on pointing out the consistent, provable incompetence that is all around this football club. And just as we said right at the top, right from last Monday, we're a single issue fan group, and the single issue is Clem Morfuni has proven he's not capable of running this football club. So he should welcome offers from those who may be. It's as simple as that. With regards to who should find potential buyers, you know, we're aware that there's been pretty solid interest in buying the club. We're aware of how those buyers and how that interest sort of comes about, and it's always through some sort of network, outside of the fans. I think it's super unrealistic to expect the fans, whether it's us in a sort of unofficial capacity or even the trust, to go and find a funding vehicle, whatever that might be, a consortium, a trade buyer, a single individual that has both the finances and the capability of running this football club. I think that's really not what we're here to do. We're here to consistently and continually highlight the incompetence and just get the message across to Morfuni and to Anthony Hall that they aren't competent people at running this football club.
You saying there about being single issue, I will come back to the comments that came through earlier, but the latest one actually goes a bit further into that. Do Terry and Dan see the spirit of 6ix9ine becoming something more when this is all over? Like a new sort of trust? Appreciate it may have already been answered and it been missed.
Shall I take that one?
Yeah. Let's just flip flop until we get.
Yeah. So no, I don't see this becoming a kind of alternative trust vehicle. As Terry said, we are quite clearly a single issue fan group, and I think between our 3 busy lives, we don't have a desire for that to become a kind of membership organisation afterwards. The thing I dream about this week is actually, if by hook or by crook we can force Clem Morfuni's hand to South Swindon Town Football Club, and that new ownership comes in on a fresh wave of optimism that any new owner would get, just make the 3rd kit orange and stick Spirit of 6ix9ine on the back. That's all I want.
That'd be a nice touch, wouldn't it?
But no, I think I said it. God, I forget where I said it. I've spoken everywhere.
You've been everywhere, yeah. You're doing your best Ben Nichols impression this week.
But genuinely, supporters trusts as a concept, as a vehicle, I'm a massive believer in. And we've been quite clear in our early comms as the Spirit of 6ix9ine. It's probably what we have got at the moment is a supporters trust who are hamstrung by the terms of the JV, by the way that the sort of advisory board has sort of mutated and grown. The football club have really not helped on that as well. That's something you can't miss. Is you can put all your eyes on the trust, but actually the football club are acting irresponsibly and incompetently. So that's always where we'd rather put the lens is on the football club. I think there will always be room for a well-run, well-governed supporters trust. In an ideal world, Terry, that would be the organisation that lingers on afterwards. If we can get the parties to the table to South Swindon Town Football Club, and really our role as a single action group is to make sure that 500 or 600 people turn up to a protest, make lots of noise, have lots of colour, get fantastic media coverage nationally and locally, and really hammer that message home.
I think also just to add to that, Fivey, I think for me, like what's the dream world end game for this organisation and this community that we very, very quickly sort of has sparked into life. And I think you play it forward and say everything went as we hope, which is ultimately that Clem Morfuni and Anthony Hall and the rest of the exec hierarchy at the club accept their shortcomings, accept they're not competent enough to run this football club, and go to market and seek someone to buy the club from them who does have the capability of doing so. If all that plays through, what I would love more than anything is for the community that is born through this and turns up to fight and protest for that community sort of lives on in a much more positive sense. Like I would love it to sort of morph into a second coming of Great Western Reds, even, or something like that, right? Where it's actually about positivity and colour and supporting the team. And fast forward 6 months, let's have a celebratory fan march rather than a protest one. Or first game of next season, let's take a leaf out of Great Western Reds book and have the summer barbecue again, or all those things that I sort of remember when we were just in a bit of a better spot. I'd love to see this group and this community sort of morph into something really positive and supportive and colourful for the football club. Just to be super clear, on Saturday and every Saturday, and particularly the Saturday of the Grimsby game, between 2:45 and 5:15, that's exactly what we're going to be. We are not And this has been a consistent theme of questioning throughout. And even today, there's been questions on this. We are not interested in in protesting in any way yet, with regard to in-game protests. Our cause is more likely to happen. Our mission is more likely to be successful if we have a Football League club. So we won't be doing anything to jeopardize that in any way. This is very much about highlighting issues of incompetence before the game and then supporting the boys during the 90 minutes, whether that's Grimsby at home or Dan and I are off to Bromley, off to Wimbledon, Colchester tomorrow night. When the boys are playing, they need our support, and that's super, super important. We can make our message in 100 different ways outside that 90 minutes.
Yeah, no, 100%. Andrew sent in a couple more for you. Do you know of any interested parties?
Yeah, so we're aware that there have been, but we can't really go any further than that. Primarily because we don't know more than that. So we're not sitting on secrets here. But we just know there have been interested parties, and we know that there are middle people sort of around who've been to the club, but that's as much as we know, unfortunately.
And he also said, when will Clem be joining the debate with you guys?
Dan, do you want to take that, mate?
Yeah. So what we can say is we have reached out to staff members at Swindon Town Football Club. We are meeting with them tomorrow to discuss the Swindon Town matchday safety operation and what we're planning to do on our day of action on the 21st of December. So I'm really happy to say, those discussions that we've had with the police so far, our outreach to the club to set up this meeting tomorrow, everything has been really courteous and respectful. The police have been absolutely magnificent with us, really helpful. I believe there is a chance that our chief exec may be joining that meeting as well. So Terry and Rich and I will have an opportunity to speak with Anthony Hall. And again, that's not a problem from our point of view. We are going to be respectful and courteous. We're going to put our points across, and if they want to put their points across, that's absolutely fine too. Because this needs to be adult. It needs to be a conversation, and as much as we can, we need to make the club see why we're doing what we're doing and why hundreds of people are going to back us on the day and thousands of people are backing us online. It's because they agree. And so when I see comments, sorry, Fivey, I see comments from Clem Morfuni in the Swindon Advertiser saying, protest about what? Well, that just kind of, to me, screams
deluded?
Like you've got no idea the feeling in the fan base at the moment. You haven't got your ear to the ground, or you're just choosing to completely ignore it. And both are bad outcomes, in my view.
I mean, when you see the tagline, more foodie questions, protests about what, and that gets put into our WhatsApp chat, then you automatically know you're getting 150 notifications next time you go back to your phone, because I dread to think what your guys have been like this last week, because ours just goes off when this sort of stuff happens.
But really, really key stuff, 5 feet. Just to reiterate again, right?
Yep.
This is an adult situation, right? The protests are going to be peaceful.
Yep.
The protesting is going to be non-obtrusive. We have absolutely no interest in violence or criminal damage, social disobedience, any of that stuff, right? This is about people turning up, putting their numbers behind what we're doing and showing that strength of feeling. And that can be respectful and courteous and adult. And that is really, really important to Rich, Terry and I.
Absolutely. And I mean, firstly, you guys couldn't be making that more clear, which is great. But also, I think that's from the feeling I get from who we get to talk to, it's very much the same. Like, no one is suggesting that the negative side of these things, when people get carried away, is the right way to go. It should be as you've described it there. We've had a few other comments as well as questions come in. Sean says here, I'm all for this campaign. As we all know, there are clowns running the club, but we should be careful what we wish for. Clem walks without selling, probably, and he clarifies in a later comment, being more shite is how he wanted to put that.
We
Just
get
a
the
thought,
sense.
lads. That's all.
Yeah, so again, this is quite a recurring theme of feedback for us, and I guess I'd answer that question in two ways. I guess one more bluntly than the other. The really blunt way of answering that is, you said we'll be in even more shite if he walks. Well, does it get worse? Really? Like, are we surely we're at the point now where you got to take that chance, right? I don't see how a crumbling stadium, joint bottom of the football league, absolute. We look nailed on for relegation. Everything about the club, structurally, infrastructurally, it is crumbling around us. You only have to look at really recent projects that Clem Morfuni claims as wins. The Legends Lounge, minus the legends and minus a usable floor. And now minus some repeat booking because they don't have any heating. So I'm not sure we should be banding around things like that as successes. But back to your original question, if Clem Morfuni chooses to respond to this growing fan sentiment by withdrawing funds or withdrawing support, that is only a reflection on Clem Morfuni. And if he chooses to weaponize fan sentiment in that way, then we will just get louder and louder and louder, because it is a coward's way out to take your ball and go home.
No, absolutely.
Could I chime in there, chaps?
Please do.
So, excellently put, Terry. Thank you. Trio of things for me. Firstly, Clem's financial interest in the club. If that first 7 or 8 million is owed to him in director loans or debt that he inherited, which he said in a fans forum a year or so ago he wouldn't be looking to claw back, and now he is. That is an incentive to sell and sell well, and also an incentive to try and keep Swindon Town in the Football League. So it makes this culture of incompetence even more baffling for me.
Yeah.
If you want to get a good price, run it well. Keep them in the Football League. So that I've never ever been able to get my head around that. Secondly, this word custodianship, right? Clem Morfuni, when he came into Swindon Town, one of the things he was really keen to bang the drum on is, hey, I'm the owner right now, but I'm merely a custodian for this football club that is so important to the Swindon Town community, the county of Wiltshire, etc., etc. And in that sense, if you are a true custodian and you acknowledge that you're just the owner right now, you're not the owner in 100 years, you have a responsibility to tens of thousands of people who find Swindon Town so important and like the fabric of our lives. That's why we're on this panel now talking. Then you have a responsibility to sell well and sell responsibly and do the best by this town and by this football club and by the tens of thousands of people that love Swindon Town. And that includes me, that includes Terry, that includes you two, Fifey and Woody, and all the people watching tonight. So I just cannot get my head around that. And 3, Terry's already said it, don't weaponize your ownership. I think that phrase, don't take your ball and go home, is really nice, actually, Terry. We should use that. So, yeah, I can't get my head around the motivations of this current ownership. I really can't.
The next question sent in came from one of our own, Gary. He's asked, how do we know if and when the club is up for sale that we're being told the truth?
Yeah, interesting question. I think first and foremost, there's ways of communicating something, right? So, for example,
always been Clem's strong point, that.
Yeah, quite. So I think, for example, there was some Thursday morning, there was a bit of movement in this story. We firstly in the morning saw Chris Hull talk about how actually Clem was open to offers,
yeah,
and all of that, and that was direct from Clem Morfuni. And then very quickly, quotes from other media organisations came out, particularly the local boys who had a bit longer with them, which basically said, no, it's not. So I think that there's ways of communicating things, right? So I think first and foremost, a formal statement on company-owned digital assets, so on the company's website and socials, signed by Clem Morfuni is a start. And then ultimately, I guess it's then about action, right? Because, or it's about drilling in what are the terms of that sale, what are the terms of what are the terms of an offer that would be acceptable, and what is Clem Morfuni doing to find that buyer. What this isn't going to go away when Clem gives us a call and says, actually no, it is for sale, lads, so pipe down. I don't think it's as straightforward as that. I think really official, really specific, really direct communication is step one, and then steps 2, 3, and 4 are actually following through on those actions.
Now, I intended this to be about you guys, so feel free to say if you don't want to answer this one, but I'm offering the chance for the questions. Elliot's asked, Daniel, what's your thoughts on the trust after taking no action after our lowest ever finish and stating they wouldn't protest yet this season despite being 22nd and now in the relegation zone?
Well, thank you, Elliot, for the question. I think we've kind of covered a bit of my thoughts on the current Supporters Trust setup, and you've heard about my faith in Supporters Trust as institutions. Hey, they're a membership organisation, right? And if enough of their current membership say, and handily, there has been a Supporters Trust survey last week, which I think is now closed.
Yep.
If enough of their members say, we want action, we want protest, well, then they are duty bound to take that course of action. So you can't say simpler than that, right? So I'm really interested in seeing the results of that survey, seeing what's it, about 1,200, 1,300 members. So it's a good chunk of the fan base. It should be representative. And if they come out and say they want protest, then maybe we'll see a trust that's a bit more agile, a bit more active, and that can give them some real teeth when they go in to those next advisory board meetings, etc. But I mean, please don't think we're coming for the trust. Yes, Terry, Rich, and I are exasperated fans. That's why we're doing what we're doing. And perhaps we've just given everything a kick. Perhaps we're the kind of protest arm that the fan base needed right now.
Yeah.
But having a strong, well-governed, well-membership Supporters Trust is a great thing for Swindon Town Football Club and the town of Swindon in future. What do you think, Terry?
Yeah, I guess on a more personal level, Dan, I think that's a really great answer in terms of the trust as a ensemble. I think a couple of things, like on a personal level, Dan and I have both been board members of the trust. We know, and we've been board members of the trust during turbulent times, during war times, as opposed to peace times. Dan and I were both on the trust board when the Lee Power boycott started and was seen through. I know the effort that community organisations like the Trust demand of their volunteers, and I, on an individual level, I don't think it's right to really sort of criticise anybody in that volunteer community space, because they will be doing what they think is best. I just think that there's been a lot of churn, so much churn on that board of the Trust over the last 2 or 3 years. It's been a really turbulent period. And I think it's probably it's a little bit hamstrung by its relationship with the club and the web of connection through the JV. And also, really frankly, I think it's probably just suffering from that churn and from that lack of sort of through thread of values that it's had over the last 20, 25 years since it was founded. Speaking really openly, and I'm sure the guys from the Trust would disagree, and I'm always happy to have that chat with them. My perception is that ultimately the trust serves its members first and foremost. That's what it should be serving, and sometimes I think that they've lost sight of that a little bit over recent times.
You mentioned a spotlight on the club. I'm sure the first half of the next comment that came in from Sean, the answer is yes. But here we go. Don't know if you have seen the latest cock-up. Yesterday's competition winner had the wrong answer. Okay, it seemed like a typing error, but still stated the wrong answer.
Yeah, so we've seen it. I mean, if you wanted to chalk up every single mistake, like, you know, you'd be here all day, right? But yeah. What I will say, and I think this is really important, Fife, is that we know the media manager left last week, right? And so we know that media and comms has not been a strong point for the club for a long time now, probably at least 2 or 3 years. And it's probably at its weakest now than it's ever been, but that's not the fault of the young guys and the young girls who are doing it. Mm-hmm. I think this is, if people watching this and listening today take one thing away, please take this: there are good, honest, hardworking people at our football club.
Yeah.
Callum, who I'm assuming has taken on most of the media duties, is one of them, and as is Caroline, and as is Vicky, and you know, they are often fans of the club. They're often local people. They're part of this community. Yeah. They are not the people we're going after here, and I can't make that clear. If you take one thing away from tonight, take that. We are not going after the guys who are overworked and massively, you know, in what I can only imagine is quite a toxic, pressurized, negative environment.
Yeah,
we saw in the summer to great fanfare when the club announced that they had, I think they announced that they had hired a support liaison officer. They hadn't at all. They just tacked it onto somebody else's job, so they now had 2 jobs. It is not the fault of these really hardworking, committed local people. These people are part of our community, and they deserve better.
No, definitely. Next question, again related to your relationship with other organisations. What have the OSC said about supporting? Will they be endorsing the campaign?
I could tell that one. To my knowledge, I don't think the OSC have said anything positive or negative, actually. So we don't know, is the answer to that
one. Jason has asked, Dan, Terry, do you think the attempted protest at Wimbledon last season was too early?
When was Wimbledon? April. Well, to some of what we said earlier, perhaps not. I think, and this is no disrespect to Jason at all, Jason is a highly passionate man and really thorough in what he does. I think perhaps what Jason needed was just a bit of support, a bit of polishing around the edges, and you know, I think maybe what he also was missing back in April was that kind of trigger moment, that spark moment, and you know, that Morecambe weekend just gone was, you know, really fortunate from our point of view. For the movement, I hate seeing Swindon Town lose, and I hate seeing our 69 heroes disrespected in the programme. So we'd always rather not be doing this.
Definitely.
So, Terry, anything you'd add to that?
No, I think you're dead on. I think half of this is luck, half of this is timing, and half of this is having a combination of people who have some complementary skills that can come together and build something. And obviously my complementary skill isn't counting, because I got to 1.5 there.
Apologies for not fully getting the backstory to this one. I hope that it's okay for you. Question for Terry. Will you ever consider returning to the Townend Forum after your infamous exit during Euro 2020? I miss your musings.
Jeez. I mean, I am back, I suppose, because I am posting on there again under the Spirit of 69 name. I don't actually remember any details of the infamous exit during Euro 2020, and I would ask Royston Cropper to not post any, just in case. Just in case, because I don't remember the detail. God only knows what he's going to come up with. Yeah, do you know what? I thought I quit a lot longer ago than that. Just a case of I find myself spending way. I found myself spending way too much time arguing with people online. I think is the way to sum that up.
On a more serious note, he asks, will tomorrow's meeting be on the record?
Yeah, that's a really important question, actually. So you'd have noticed last week when we issued a statement in response to the media quotes on Thursday, saying that I think the direct quote was, we're welcome to come in for a chat. And as we said in our statement on Thursday, we at that point we hadn't had any direct communication with the club, and we certainly haven't had any invite to any formal meeting with Clem Morfuni or Anthony Hall. For us to take a meeting of that type, we would only take it if it was fully on the record, recorded and publishable to the wider fan community. This is not about me, Rich and Dan finding stuff out. This is about the community finding stuff out. Okay. Tomorrow's meeting won't be recorded because very, very simply, the scope of the meeting is the Swindon Town Football Club matchday safety operation, and we will only be talking about that. So that is the scope of the meeting. We won't be drifting. And just to be clear, we're not seeking permission from the club. We're cooperating with them and informing them of our plans.
Because to what we said earlier, those hard-working local Swindon Town staff, many of whom are involved in that local safety operation on a match day, we don't want to inconvenience them. It's the last game before Christmas. There's probably going to be a few other little festivities happening around, and we still want those things to happen. And we want to support the club staff with that. So yeah, we're trying to collaborate. We're trying to cooperate, as Toby said.
Elliot has sent two questions in, one slightly more serious than the other. So what I'll do is I'll flash up the less serious one first, just to get a reaction. No need to actually answer, and then I'll flash up the actual question. How do we know that the protest will be safe? Just as we all know, it takes a few to not only ruin it but tarnish the spirit of '69.
Toby, do you want to take it?
I think you should take this one because I think you've got some interesting angle on this from today. So,
yeah. Well, look, right. All we can do, Terry, Rich, and I, is plead with the people supporting this protest to be peaceful, to be respectful, to make sure that the protest is non-obtrusive, and make sure that, when we plan to end our protest march at Statue Park, there's no secrets there. That's where we plan to end it currently. Our beef isn't with Don Rogers. It's certainly not with the Don Rogers statue. That has to be protected at all costs. We don't want to see vandalism, damage. So at the end of the day, what you must remember, please, is me, Rich, and Terry are just three normal blokes with families, kids, day jobs. And we can't compromise that. We've all got mortgages to pay. Mm-hmm. So our message to the fan base is, when we say peaceful, non-obtrusive, respectful, we mean it. Could not be more deadly serious on that.
I think just really pragmatically, I think what I hope is coming through when we talk with you guys, or in our media, in our social media comms, or the podcast that we did last week, Dan on every BBC radio station across the country. We're one of the big questions we kept getting was why wait until the 21st, and the constant answer to that was because we want to do this properly and we want it to be safe, right? So we're in constant dialogue with police. We've got a volunteer list that is so long, and we're so grateful for that, for people who are going to marshal for us, and those marshals are going to be properly kitted out thanks to a donation from some other town fans who are arranging high vises for them and stuff like that, right? We're gonna do a proper job on this. So in terms of how do we know the protest will be safe? We don't. How do we try our utmost to prepare for a safe protest. We communicate really effectively beforehand, and on the day we have a team of volunteers who are there to keep everybody safe. So when you're asked to do something by one of them, then please do so.
I think the other thing on that one as well for everybody is not doing so just gives Clem ammunition. It just gives the club ammunition. Well, not necessarily the club as a whole, but the club senior hierarchy ammunition to ignore it.
Yeah.
And especially if anything's done at the ground, where do you think what is going to be the next message that comes out? We can't support any of this. We can't do this because we're too busy focused on the vandalism that's happened within the ground. So whilst protests can get out of hand sometimes, I think you guys are doing the right thing by doing it 21st, making sure it's well planned. But messages have to be considered, not from you guys, but from anybody who wants to take part, from people that are just promoting the situation. It can't get out of hand, because all that does, anything that gets out of the protest hand goes into Clem Morfuni's hand. That's the easiest way to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
well said, Woody.
Yeah, take that as a warning, and hopefully, if you've engaged with the police and all that anyway.
Oh, hang on.
Hello.
Sorry.
Stop picking your nose, Arch.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the key thing there. Is just don't be a dick.
Basically.
That's. I'm gonna get an orange hat and just put that on the front. Don't be a dick.
Hang on, I've got one. Right here.
Michael says, I'd be interested to know what the silent shareholders that Clem promised to buy back think of this protest. Keep going, lads. There's a lot of us with you. Roll on the 21st. Sam, I'll come back to your question in a little while when we are talking about the weekend. Where else are we going? We've got one in here on X. How many protests do you think will happen, and how often? Can't see one being enough.
Yeah, so who knows? I think the key thing is we're in this for the long haul. We're trying to pace ourselves. This week is a little bit of sort of take stock and get our heads down ahead of the 21st. Last week was a sort of baptism of fire. I can't imagine the 21st will be our last day of action. We don't know what subsequent ones will look like. We're not going to do the same thing routinely. We're not going to do the same thing every home game. So I just think that's too much to ask of people, really. Ultimately, we're asking people to go out of their way to support a cause, and I wouldn't expect people to do that every single home game. I know that I can't do that for my own personal commitments. So what it looks like after that, I don't really know. There was a moment, 4:51 on Saturday, where I had dreams of the Anfield Road stand being orange. On January the 11th or whatever FA Cup third round is, and then we conceded that last one equaliser, and that was all dashed. But I do like the idea of some sort of big away game display, perhaps, or something like that. But who knows what the future holds? I think all focus is on having a really, really clear message on the 21st of December, and then seeing how things play out. There's some big off-field moments coming for the club, and also for Mr. Morfuni in January. So I think we've really got to see how a lot of that plays out. We've got the January transfer window without a director of football and without any plans to bring one in. There was a fantastic bit of analysis today online by H the Duck on X. I would absolutely encourage people to go and seek that out in terms of this regime's historical performance in the January window and how bad it is. So this idea that we just need to cling on to January and then Mr. Holloway's magic contacts that he hasn't had for 4 years and admittedly doesn't have anymore are going to come through for us. It just seems so far-fetched. So who knows? This is going to be changing super quickly. It's going to change at pace. We're going to get to the 21st. We're going to have a really strong day as a community, hopefully pick up 3 points, have a lovely Christmas, and then see how January plays out for our next day of action, I think.
Absolutely. Stephen's been in touch on Facebook. He said, is there a fear if Morfuni does sell, it could be to the Kylies as they have a right to buy?
Oh, Well, I think that's on the assumption they would have kind of preemption rights, which I'm not much of a legal beagle, but we know obviously Clem Morfuni had preemption rights, and that's kind of how he got the club from League Power. So I don't know the ins and outs of that, to be honest. So I'm not going to guess.
Andrew is back. He said, I've seen some people on Twitter claim that Clem is just the face of an ownership group and doesn't really have a say in the running of the club. I think this is BS. Just wondering your thoughts.
I think it doesn't really matter. It honestly doesn't matter. Clem Morfuni's name is the name above the door. It's as simple as that. When you go into a pub and there's a big pub fight and the old bill turn up and they shut the pub down, they don't phone Green King, they don't phone our calls, they have a go at the landlord. Yeah. That's the best way I can describe it. Clem Morfuni is wholly, and he has told us this routinely, he is wholly responsible for the running of the football club. So if he is telling us that, we are going to hold him to account on that. And it's as simple as that. He has sold some shares to other people, but has repeatedly stated those other people have no involvement in the running of the club. So it's Clem Morfuni's name above the door, and it's Clem Morfuni who is accountable solely for the consistent, provable incompetence we've seen over the last 3 years.
Bang on.
Royston says, do you expect the protest to start from a central point away from the ground and take the form of a march?
Yes.
Yes.
Just simply yes.
And to what we said earlier, we've got some further conversations to have this week to make sure that we are doing everything by the book, above board, and with the kind of endorsement of Wiltshire Police and the football club's sort of match day safety operation staff. So yeah, we're hoping to be able to come out to you very soon and give you the exciting details of that protest march.
Yeah, hopefully by the end of the week. That's the plan.
Should we just pencil you in for Friday's show as well then? Yeah.
But no, more seriously, fingers crossed, touch wood, all that jazz. Hopefully people will be able to come and have a chat with me before the Fleetwood game somewhere around the county ground, and I'll give you a lovely shiny leaflet that will be able to give you more details. Let's put it that way.
Knighton says, how many are you expecting at the march? Do you have a number that would be deemed a success for a first one?
4 million.
4 million people walking en masse from somewhere in Swindon to the county ground.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry, it's been a very serious evening.
I think if you asked us that question this time last week, when the three of us were sat on a Zoom call for 2 hours into the late Monday night, I think I would have said, honestly, at the time, I'd have said 50, maybe 100. Looking now, you think, well, if everybody who's bought a hat turns up, we're at 400. If everyone who's bought a hat and brings family member, we're at 800. It starts to get, the numbers start to sort of scale quite quickly to being something really powerful. So yeah, and we bought 500 orange hats to give away free on the day. So hopefully we'll run out of them. Let's put it that way.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how you guys really feel about public speaking, but we have had the question.
I know how one of us feels.
Will there be any speeches at the protest? Fancy delivering a big speech on a podium?
Try and stop me.
What else have we got?
But more to the point, we should try and get Rich to do a big speech because he would hate that.
Evening Pete, he says the slogan "Fan Power, not Lead Power" caught national attention. Is there going to be a slogan? I mean, I feel like you've got one. You've got your hashtag going around. Clem, it's time.
Hashtag Clem, it's time to sell STFC. And that has a lovely bit of wordplay in there, obviously with Clementine. Clementine's are orange, hats are orange. Just go with us.
Just go with us. Almost as if it's all come together.
Go with us on the orange bit. We're keen on orange.
No, but Peter does make an important point there with regards to national media attention, right? So we are, the funny thing, for those who don't know, I've worked in and around national sports media for a long time. In my first career, I'm like a cat. I've had multiple lives. And my first career was in and around national sports journalism and sport media. So I know a bit about that scene. We've got some really interesting conversations going on with big national media organizations, but like the key thing to understand in that world is that things can change at the drop of a hat. So we could be slated in for coverage at Friday night and something could change Saturday morning. So we've got no guarantees of national media coverage. All we can do is continue to work really hard behind the scenes with our contacts. All the fan base can continue to amplify everything that we're saying, and we've just got to hope it sort of it catches the attention of some of those national media organisations.
Gents, I very much appreciate you taking this time out. I've got a couple more questions for you. And then we can let you go and enjoy what was FA Cup third round draw day, where, well, let's face it, everyone in League Two is getting a nice windfall except for us. We've got one from Sound Trauma that says, is there a concern that the lack of development of the ground will result in the ground being offered back to the council?
I think given the speed and the nature of our single issue action group, that's probably an issue too far down the line for us to be worried about right now. But I suppose personal view, I struggle to see Swindon Council in this current climate cobbling together £2.5 or £3 million to buy it back from the club, and that to be in the best interests of the population of Swindon who pay council tax. But again, that's just a personal view. Terry?
No, I agree with you, mate. Finally, we skipped a question there as well about disruptive protest, I think.
That's the one I was coming back to. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry.
No worries. Royston asked, final cue for him. If the need arises longer term, would you be open to more militant action a la Reading fans who have taken to some in-ground disruption?
So the three of us haven't really discussed this, but I think we're on a similar page. We're not interested in that type of action yet. And I think I would just leave it at that. I would hate to predict the future. I'd hate to say never, because as soon as you say words like never, you just end up stitching yourself up down the line, and it's just not worth it. It's certainly not in our immediate plans. But who knows where the remainder of the season goes.
I've got one more in the chat, but Woody Arch, is there anything you want to ask first that's not already been covered in this hour?
In fairness, mate, I wasn't actually expecting to come on till they were finished.
You looked it, yeah.
You suggesting you've not been listening, Arch?
Totally embarrassed myself, but there we go.
Unbelievable.
Won't be the first time, won't be the last.
Certainly won't be the last. Okay, well, we're going to end on, as you said, it's been quite a serious chat for the most part. So we're going to end on something a little bit lighter, guys. Simply, when we win this campaign, will you pour me a pint in the Merlin?
Well, if we win this campaign and the Merlin let me pour pints, it needs to be in a glass, not a plastic one. I hate that on match days. When we win, but yeah, happy to. Yeah, I can't say it's going to be much of a pour, but we'll give it a whirl.
Mine's a Guinness, please, Dan.
Guinness, yeah.
Honestly, gents, it's been great to have you on. Thank you for taking all the questions. There's nothing you didn't answer there, and as you know, we are happy to offer up FRI whenever there's any development you want to come on and talk about it. We're more than happy. We're even shifting time slots for you. So
when you've got a big media star like Dan Hunt on the table, you've got to make things work.
This is it. You want to see the?
Thank you, five people. We really appreciate it. And what I will say is, I hope the thing that comes across is that we're just ultimately we're three people who've put our heads above the parapet. We've been doing this very, very publicly. Our names are all over this. Dan's name is all over it. But also, you know, we're going about it in a very adult way. If people have concerns, if they have questions, if anything at all that they want to chat about, they have ideas, they want they want to support in any way, then just reach out to us. You know, DMs are open, the email address is public. We'll hopefully be doing more of these. I'd love to definitely do one Fifey in the run up to the Grimsby game that week.
100%.
Definitely.
100%.
You know, I had someone in the DMs today like saying, can we use the logo and make a flag? Like, yeah, of course. Like, it doesn't, you know, crack on. That day is about community. It's about color. It's about noise. It's about all of us coming together. And hopefully by the end of this week we can share a bit more in terms of plans, and then people can start whatever prep that each individual wants to do. Get cracking. You know, absolutely get cracking.
Dan, I'm very sorry. I can't tell whether you're overdoing this on a mobile or you're just sat very far away. Every time I flash up a comment, I can just see you getting
I'm on my
closer.
mobile. If I had glasses, I'd be doing this. Yeah.
Lots more responses like Pete's here. Good luck, guys. We need this protest. So much of the Swindon Town fan base is behind you, and even those who have openly said, "Look, protest isn't really my thing personally, but I am supporting this." So you have a lot of the community backing you and behind you, and again, anything we could do just to even help tell one more person, we'd be more than happy to do. I lied like Royston did. I've got one more question before you go. What is the score going to be tomorrow night?
1-0 Swindon, and I can't fathom why. It just will be somehow.
I was all set to go. It's my local away day in League Two, and every year I go there, and it's always freezing. And I go on my own, and I sit on my own in a corner and get really grumpy. And we're always crap. We're always rubbish there, and that's not going to change tomorrow, I'm afraid.
No, much to the delight of the man who will be coming on shortly after you depart. Again, thank you for this hour, lads. It's been great. We will definitely get something in before Grimsby as well. And genuinely, good luck with it all.
Good stuff, James.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.
See you later.
Cheers. Bye.
And as the two gentlemen leave the screen, let's welcome the man. As I said, we're flipping the script. See you, Dan. We're flipping the script to talk about the game before reviewing the game.
I think I'm still on.
You are still on. I mean, you could have just took yourself off, but you just wanted to.
I can take myself off.
You can, yeah. But it's fine. I'll do it for you, mate. No worries. He may be a pro public speaker, but he's not great with the old tech yet, is he, Dan? Bless him. Yes, we're going to talk about the game before we review the previous one, and that can only mean that Woody's pressing buttons because he wants to introduce Si. Evening, mate.
Good evening, all.
You don't know whether you're coming or going when both of us are here clicking away, do you?
To be fair, it's like I'd be quite happy to just sat in the background listening to what's going on with obviously the plans for your process, because that's obviously much more important than previewing what is just 90 minutes of football tomorrow, but you actually fixture your clubs involved. So, First of all, to describe what's going to happen tomorrow as football is very loose with the term, that's for sure. And secondly, they are fantastic spokespeople for the cause, and we'll be happy to have them on again. Sean's already feeling the positivity. Always do bad at Colchester. Si, you know as well as anyone, because you've been doing this as long as most of our panelists. you know as well as anyone just how bad we generally are at Colchester. When you hear, and I know you do actually, you're one of the few who seem to have sort of invested interest in just keeping an eye on what happens at Swindon. When you see and hear everything that's going on, are you thinking, oh, this is a nice, easy 3 points for us tomorrow? They're a shit show of a club. No, because you guys are always bad at Colchester, but then to be fair, we're always bad at Colchester as well. So we can't exactly it's going to be one of those games where we can see who can be just as bad as each other, really. I don't know. I think it's difficult even as an opposition fan to sit there, obviously talking about what's going on off the pitch for you guys, and to say hopefully it'll be to our advantage, because I don't know. I think that's feels a bit jacked, really, because no matter what happens on the pitch, a football club means so much to so many people.
Yeah,
it's not really something you want to sort of almost hope that he can use against you guys. You know, I'd rather be sitting here thinking, right, we've got two really well-run clubs here.
Yeah.
Like, just can't play football. Let's see what comedy arrives tomorrow. So, obviously, from our point of view, we pick up a little bit of form, but a few key injuries, which always seems to knock us back. It's like potentially proportionate to how well we're doing seems to be how many injuries we then pick up. So that obviously will go in your guys' favour. Again, looking back on your FA Cup game, will the fact you got taken for extra time and penalties then
with 10 men
benefit us? Yeah, obviously, and plus you got suspension as well. So yeah, I think there's lots of things in our favour, but that's also then maybe going to be our Achilles heel, because we're going to go in there very confident, expecting to beat you guys. I was, not sound too blunt. We think we are going in favourites, and I don't know, we're not used to being favourites in football.
Arch, Simon makes a great point there. Despite all of the negativity and the poor quality at times on the pitch, when you listen to what Si says there, could Swindon be actually turn up tomorrow as kind of that wounded animal and just go for it?
I mean, is
it they could, but they won't?
It sounded more positive on the radio. Obviously, I didn't watch it because I was away, and I don't think it was on anywhere anyway, was it? But
not through legal means, anyway.
No, and yeah, by the sound of it, we could have got control at times. Are they going to take that? I don't know. Is the honest answer? Are we just going to be fucked from the weekend and have nothing left? I don't know. I mean, you'd like to think it was a Swindon thing to do, but nothing surprises me at the minute, to be fair. So, yeah, I don't know. I ain't got Scooby, mate. I'll piss in the wind later and tell you.
Thanks, mate. Ned, for those listening back on the likes of Spotify or Apple Pods, Ned's joined us. Evening, Ned.
Good morrow, gentlemen. Good morrow, Si.
Evening.
Ned, I'm intrigued your thoughts on the mental element of the prep this time. I mean, we had the guys on there saying that there needed to be that spark to get what's going on off the pitch happening. Do you think, I bleat on about professional pride when I'm talking about players' performances. Do you think the fact that Swindon now dropping below the dotted line, do you think that plays a different game now for the players and maybe a different mentality?
The same reaction as the Arch on the previous question.
I'm asking all the good questions.
Well, you'd like to think so. You would like to think so, that there's a, pride within their souls with regards to, where they are in the league table. However, every time I've said something positive about Swindon, about how we should be doing this and we should be doing that, they absolutely destroy my theories. So I'd love to think that there is something there which is going to flip the switch and then they're going to start playing. But the thing that because I haven't had too much. Well, I haven't had too long to think about this, but I was thinking Colchester. I mean, maybe not behind the scenes, but Colchester in a very similar position to us. They really should be further up the table, very much like ourselves. It's that old sort of cliche of false positions, based upon the squads that we both have. But obviously, we're down there for a reason. But at some point, they're going to get their season kickstarted, and at some point, hopefully, we're going to get our season kickstarted. And the only worry I've got is tomorrow going to be the day where Colchester finally put it together? I mean, their team should no way mean that they're where they are on the table. It's League Two is an enigma this year. League Two is just crazy. All the teams that shouldn't be winning are in the top half. All the teams that should be winning are in the bottom half. I don't really get it. But I still believe that we've got enough in our squad, certainly with a few additions in January, that we should be at least a mid-table team, at least at the bare minimum. And I'm just waiting for that moment for us to kick in, for all the players to just suddenly, get it. Oh, hang on, this is how we play. I forgot. I was doing so well last year, but yeah, there it is. I've got it back again. But yeah, I don't know. I hope that something triggers in them, tomorrow night. But I'm really concerned about the fatigue. I've got to be honest. I'm really concerned about the fatigue. I would have to see quite a few changes.
Okay. Well, Si, let's bring you back in on Ned's point there. So kind of a double question. Why is a squad like Colchester's where it is? Is it purely injuries and unavailability? And you mentioned in your first answer about availability of players for tomorrow. What are you expecting from what's available from a Colchester perspective?
So I think it is an element of not having players available, or we lost the spine of our team probably about 5-6 games in, and that did have a big repercussion. A lot of the fans are moaning about potentially players we got rid of in the summer we shouldn't have, but these were also the same players that when we did get rid of in the summer, everyone was really pleased with cashing in and getting money from. So you can never keep football fans happy for long when it comes to who's there and who's not. If tomorrow we can get some of the players who got their niggles from last weekend, Omar Edwards, Harry Anderson, Ben Goodliff, we can get them back on the side, then I think this game is, for tomorrow, going to be potentially, I hate to say it because it's only beginning of December, but season defining for both clubs. Because for us, if we can beat you guys, that's 7 from the last 9 points wise. Away at Grimsby, a draw at Fleetwood, both half-12 kickoffs, then to come against fellow strugglers and then always potentially a 6-point game, win that. Suddenly we start to see a bit of breathing space. Get that breathing space, and there is that element of you can relax a bit more because the pressure's not as high. Obviously, sadly for you guys, if you do lose,
our gap widens.
I was thinking it's going to be obviously social media's not really the place to be tomorrow night with you guys also saying it'd be the worst you've ever been bottom of the Football League. But to be fair, we've been there quite a lot, so the only ways up last season I think every time I came on here we were pretty much bottom. But, I do. It's tough, and normally I'm always like, oh yeah, it's this, because we are talking about teams that are pretty much bottom of the mid-table kind of area. So it's not as. This year it seems so much more serious, and yeah, I think if we can win, we'll get the gaps. If Lard Taylor's back, Edwards is fit, we've got a very, very good chance. It will kickstart our season because it's just been one or two things. Woody will probably be able to back more on this. We've got strikers that will not take half chances. We're not critical enough. And there's nothing more frustrating than to sit there watching a player not take an opportunity to have a shot. It can deflect, it can go out for a corner, it can do anything other than, obviously, for us, we're like trying to walk the ball to the back of the net. So that's been our Achilles heel so far.
Well, to be fair, mate, anyone who watches Bassett knows that they're a shoot-on-sight policy.
Yeah, and to be fair to you, we're actually one step before that. We've got strikers playing in strikers' position that aren't actually strikers. So it's or footballers for that argument. But yeah, it's
what's not helping you guys? I think I spoke to Fife about this. The BBC did sort of sell him down a bit of a creep in that situation. But like Holiday coming out with like, oh, we've got a haunted training ground. It's just, you've got a fan base that definitely want their team to do well. It seems to be everything that comes out of the club for you guys is just almost a piss take. It's like, how can we piss the fans off even more today? And
they always find a way to do it on a whole new level, mate. Believe me.
And you've already said it, alluded to a little bit. Obviously, since coming on here with you guys so much, it is turns that sort of soft spot for Swindon. And I don't think you will go down. I think you've got enough quality in the side, and there's teams around.
Can you help Ian Holloway find it, please?
Free. But is he the man for the job? That's the question. Is he really 4 or 5 years ago? He was. Is he still? That's not a completely different topic, but it's going to be. I think it's going to be a very interesting atmosphere tomorrow night as well, because we're obviously lower a little bit on the up. There's a bit of some talk about how poorly we're doing, and so your fan base are going to have your subdued issues behind the scenes. If we do go a goal down early, which we are sometimes quite keen on doing, that will change the dynamic because the fan base does tend to get a little bit behind on the players' backs, which could play you few guys to the advantage.
I mean,
you haven't seen anything this season, so anything that should play to our advantage. Bearing in mind that we were playing with 10 men on Saturday, and apparently it was one of our best games that we've had under Holloway. We play against 10 men, and we play shit. We play with the crowd behind us. We play shit. we play with an away crowd of about 24. We play shit.
It's like PJ says here, we'll be winning till the 89th minute tomorrow before we inevitably concede 2 goals on 90 and 93.
But then that's like us. I've joked before. We could be 5-0 up in the 85th minute, and I would still not be confident we were going to take all 3 points. So...
Woody, on the point Si made a minute or two ago, I actually feel sorry because I think I kind of gave you this question last time. If worst comes to the worst and we don't get a result tomorrow, let's say we lose, not even a draw, but we lose, and that gap widens while we're under the dotted line, or potentially even rock bottom, that's a different mental sort of stumbling block to get past, isn't it?
Yeah, potentially it'd be interesting to see how the players would react to that situation. But dare I use the old cliche that I've definitely used too many times, is I think the kind of thought at the moment is we're taking one game at a time. And it's because, that gap does widen, but you kind of, though it sounds impossible with Swindon at the moment, you kind of get 2 or 3 wins in a row, whether that be by, hook or by crook, then you find yourselves kind of back in the middle of the table again. And it's, but yeah, it would be concerning. It'll be all right though, because it's going to be cooled off because there's a spot of rain expected tomorrow. So it's, but yeah, I think I was trying to think of the players that we've got in the squad who might have had to go through quite similar in terms of relegation, because you can have winners in the squad, but you also need to have players who have witnessed what it's like to be in that kind of scrappy, we're not playing very well, similar to what Ned said, that we've got, and I keep convincing myself, and I probably will until the end of the season, I genuinely do think that we have a squad good enough to stay up. That my opinion of the squad has changed rapidly since pre-season.
Yeah, we've gone from a squad that could challenge for the playoffs to a squad that could just about stay up.
And I'll hold my hands to that, but hold my hands up on that, but because of the caliber of the signings we've made. But even when you look at the caliber of signings we've made, I can't think of many of them that have been in this situation before. And it is a different mental situation. You can be a winner, but you need to learn how to be a winner when in times of losing. And if you're kind of down the bottom, your manager's going to be under pressure. So your manager's passing that pressure on, regardless of who it is, whether it's fucking Ian Holloway or Alex Ferguson. If they're under pressure, they're passing that on to their players. And have we got the mentality within the squad? Because you could argue, we've got the likes of Hall, we've got the likes of Delaney, we've got the likes of Will Wright, who are kind of the bigger characters. But especially with Hall, who I think was probably originally brought in to be one of those kind of, come on, lads, really pull them through type thing. He's had too many mental challenges himself because he gets himself fit, gets sent off, and then he's got to try and get fit again. So it's he's not probably been in that position to be able to drag the players through. But yeah, I don't think it is a completely different mental battle. But I don't think their mentality is going to change if we're bottom tomorrow. It's not going to change how we approach the game on Saturday. I think if we get to kind of February time and we're still lingering down that bottom 2, that's where the players might feel the heavy effect of it. And you never know, in January, if we're in the bottom 2, a couple of the players might say, I want out. I don't want a relegation on my CV. So that their agents might force moves.
I just to move away slightly, I've just seen this comment from PJ. Lads, get the trust email that's just gone out. So I have it in front of me, and if you'll allow me the minute to 90 seconds or so, for anyone who hasn't yet seen this, because it has just hit inboxes, I will read it out. So this is the Trust's December newsletter. Swindon Town Football Club, 23rd in League 2, 6 months away from the National League. This hasn't happened by accident. It's the culmination of years of mismanagement and poor leadership at our beloved club. Did it start when Clay Morfuni acquired the club in 2021? No, it started a long time before that, but he is the owner today, and the last 3 years have seen such a dramatic decline on and off the pitch. In May 2024, the Trust wrote an open letter to the owner setting out our concerns about the lack of investment in experience, ground development and poor communication. It followed the club's worst finish in living memory, something we all hoped would never be repeated. Over the following months, the Trust reviewed progress in each of the areas of concern. In October 24, we updated members with details of our discussions held with the club amongst a significant downturn in matchday attendances. It was clear that the supporters were staying away in their hundreds, now thousands. Last week, we launched a survey to assess members' thoughts on the current situation. While social media provides a quick and vocal view of many supporters' thoughts, we know that not all members use social media or are prepared to make comments in a public forum. The survey closed on Saturday afternoon with around 60% of the Trust members who responded to the survey now support protest of some description. 29% stated that they were already protesting by either staying away or not spending any money at the stadium, whether that be at the shop or in the concourse area. 23% of respondents said they had no appetite to protest. When we called for change in May, our focus was on how the club was being run day to day. Today, there is less football experience within the club than there was 6 months ago. The director of football has left the club with no plans to replace him. Non-match day communications remain poor. The head of media has just departed, and whilst the role has been filled internally, there is now one less person in what was an already overstretched department. Within the Trust board, we had a 6-month time frame in mind for the club to change the leadership and management strategy being adopted by the owner. In that time, things have gotten worse, not better. It is said that one cannot do the same thing over and over and expect different results. Feedback is being ignored, lessons have not been learned, and heads are buried in the sand. A change of owner is now required. Last week, the CEO told the BBC that the club is not for sale. Therefore, the Trust recognises and supports those who are planning peacefully protests to apply pressure on the owner to find someone who can reverse the decline on and off the pitch. To be clear, such protests must be lawful, non-obstructive, and not distracting during match days. As a fan base, as difficult as it can be, we have to get behind the players and give them all the encouragement that we can. Every goal, every point is going to be critical come May, and we shouldn't do anything which makes that more difficult. Whilst protest groups like the Spirit of 69 have a single goal in mind, the Trust's focus needs to be broader. We've previously been contacted by interested parties in the club and remain open to contact from others in the future. As frustrating as it may be to supporters, these discussions will always remain confidential as we strive for more stable and sustainable ownership. No matter the strength of feeling around a change of owner, two realities need to be kept in mind. Firstly, even if an interested party made an acceptable offer to the owner today, the time required for due diligence and the EFL directors and owners tests mean that upcoming transfer window, probably the most important transfer window in the club's history, will take place under the current owner. Secondly, it's unlikely that a sale will take place until Town's EFL safety is assured. Ownership change is not going to happen quickly. Therefore, the Trust will continue to engage with the current leadership team, holding it to account and representing supporters at every opportunity. We are aware of comments made on social media suggesting that the Trust is compromised due to the joint venture relating to the county ground and that this somehow prevents us objectively representing our members. Not only do we challenge this assertion, but we would argue that the opposite is true. The legal agreement between the club and the Trust ensures that the club maintains its relationship with the Trust in order to approve stadium-related matters. Were the relationship to break down, the risk is greater for the club than for the Trust. Now is the moment for all supporters to unite. Division serves only those who oppose our shared mission, the survival of our club, our EFL status, and the promise of a sustainable future. We stand shoulder to shoulder with the Spirit of 69 and have had initial discussions with them on how we can collaborate to strengthen our cause. The Trust Board is committed to working tirelessly for the immediate and long-term benefit of all supporters. We will keep members updated in the days and weeks ahead, but in the meantime, we call again for everyone to get fully behind the team in some of the most important games of football our club has ever played. Come on, you Reds. Arch, what do you make of that?
I missed the first bit because I went to get a drink and Joe told me that it'd come out. So I was going to tell you when I got back, and then you're reading it. So
that's twice you've been. you just clearly. Oh yeah, sorry, no, mate. I wasn't there. I wasn't listening.
But they ain't got a choice, really, have they?
No,
I don't think. I mean, I said a long time ago, I think the joint ventures made it harder for them. I think it clearly has. So yeah, they'll support them and let them drive it and back them where they can. But yeah, I don't think they can really say anything different to that, to be honest. I don't want to discourage cheering on the team, and I'll still go and support certainly at home games to make sure hopefully we can do something. But yeah, it's getting a bit worrying, to be fair now, isn't it? And it's you even look above, I think 2 above us, they're all only on 16 games, 3 or 4 of them, I think. We're on 17.
Mm-hmm.
So come tomorrow, they'll have 2 games in hand, unless they're paying tomorrow. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's starting to look a bit twitchy arse syndrome time, isn't it? So yeah, they haven't really got a choice, I don't think.
Woody, your thoughts on the trust statement?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with Arch. If the members have spoken up, I'm glad that they published the figures. If the members have spoken up, they've got to, really, haven't they? Because they'd lose membership otherwise. I guess from a slightly cynical point of view, it's a bit of a shame that it took them for another protest group to start before they decided to do any action. Because let's be totally honest, that's what this is. This is a reaction to that. But then we can't sit there and complain that the trust aren't doing anything if if they are trying to do something. But again, it's even arguably it's the same as Spirit of 69. Obviously, I back them all the way, but words are words. Online comments are comments. Emails are emails. I could send you an email to say one day I'm going to be a millionaire. Doesn't mean I'm going to be a millionaire one day. Clem was never going to ask back for his £8 million. Pounds, and now all of a sudden he's asking back for his £8 million. So words are words. So it's all about action, and I'm glad the trust have come out with something and a little bit more comprehensive. I'm not going to lie to you. I do enjoy a long email myself when I'm trying to kind of subconsciously patronize the people that are receiving it, but that they could have got away with just like maybe 1 or 2 lines in that email, and instead they've kind of summarized it all. The one thing I am happy with, though, is they have come out and said the honest truth about the situation with the ground, with the joint venture. That's quite reassuring to hear, because there's so many, including myself, who I'm not legally qualified, but I like to think I know my stuff that I need to know.
I've watched enough Suits to get my way around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm like Harvey Specter. It's fine. But it's good to know that they've kind of come out almost in a solid statement. I know I've already said that actions speak louder than words. They come out with a solid statement to say, if the club fuck this up, it does them damage, not us. Mm-hmm. So we're not tied in. We're not tied into that. And it comes along with that question that was asked earlier about the council buying back. The council will never buy this ground back, by the way. They would never buy it back. They haven't got the money, and they won't. And as I can't remember if it's Dan or Terry said, they won't have the taxpayers' interests. Mm-hmm. And the problem is with that is Clem and Co know that. That's what's tying the joint venture downside down, is that won't happen. The council will not buy it back. We might as well get that we can't even support the fucking Oasis. There's no way they're going to get the county ground back going again. So it's but yeah, I think if we look at it from again from action, if the trust saying they're standing shoulder by shoulder, I'm sure we'll see a couple of trust board members at that protest as well, which we all know we probably won't. But this is when we need to be united as a fan base, and that's what the Spirit of 69 was aiming to do. You know, they want to get everybody singing off the same hymn sheet. Enough is enough now. So you know, it's good that the trust have our backing as a club.
Ned, final comments from you before we get back on topic?
I really like the statement. I like the sentiment. I love the strength and the tone. It's just a shame that it's like not a month or two earlier. I mean, that's it just seems like
Let's disappear.
Okay.
Under that comment.
It's just incredibly frustrating that it's not sooner. It's taken, Dan and the boys to take these steps in order for them to make a statement like that, which it is a real shame. But at least they're showing their hands, which is really good, because I don't think many of us in the recent episodes have really had a full understanding of what the direction of what they were thinking or what they were planning on asking or doing or anything. So at least it's sort of it seems like they put their cards on the table and the cards look good. So that's all I'm saying. But so it's a positive step. But as Woody said, it's all about actions now, isn't it? So let's see what happens.
Sorry, the one thing I do disagree with is this whole. It makes it a little bit harder, but it doesn't make it impossible to sell the club if we get relegated. By the way, this club is being poorly run even for a non-league club. It's being poorly run as a football club in general, not just for a non. I don't think that, and I said this on the show before. If we get relegated and it means we get new owners, I'm happy with that. Because that's what it isn't. The National League and League Two, yes, there's a bit of a drop in certain areas, but the National League's still very attractive to potential millionaires because there's a project they can work with. We look at Stockport, we look at not Oldham so much, but Oldham kind of rejuvenated their fan base, didn't they? When they went down, they got the new owner and all of that kind of stuff. So it's that's the only bit I disagree with, is this whole kind of mantra that we won't sell if we get relegated. It might make it a little bit less appealing, but the National League's no write-off, as we've seen with the likes of, dare I say, Wrexham. Look at their climb. Just from a whim from a couple of Americans.
And let's be honest as well, you get more live matches in the conference as well. So you actually see ourselves on television a bit. Oh.
In that case, fuck it then. Stay up.
Let's go down, baby.
I think. I'm sorry, I was going to say. I think as well that the fact that Russell has now gone and they're not looking to replace him, and this thing with Fitton, if you remember when that was produced to the club, they said they were looking to bring more people in with football experience into the club. And Clem said he was in discussions with Fitton about maybe sorting a roll out. I think from what was released by the ad for the other day, it's quite clear that that's probably blown out the water now from Clem's reaction. And having no director of football, they've gone back, two, 3 spaces potentially?
Yeah.
So combine that with everything else, the trust haven't got they've got to agree, haven't they?
No, absolutely. Let's get back onto topic then. Si, as we so often do, a little scouting report with what you're expecting your team to be tomorrow. What are the strengths that are going to cause us the most problems, and where are the chinks in the armour that hopefully we can exploit?
So, strengths, when we actually get the ball down, excuse me, and play football, is we're very good at delaying, looking for opportunities, then breaking through the lines quite well, and frustrating opposition into making mistakes, changing their game plan, and just pretty much bringing the game into how we want it to be played. That's good Colchester. The other Colchester that sometimes turns up is one that tries to do that, doesn't work, gets impatient, tries long balls, and then gets caught out on the break.
Yeah.
Because at times defensively, we're not the most solid. Up at Barrow, their goal came from our corner. So at least we saw a goal from a corner, which is, again, it's a bit different to what we used to. It just wasn't quite at the right end. So it's things like that sometimes if we're disjointed in the transition, you'll be able to exploit that very well if you're quick enough. So yeah, that's it really. I think if we turn up as a team, play our game on the ball, through the lines, will be very hard to play against because we keep the ball and we frustrate opposition. Flip side that, disjointed Colchester turns up, I think you'll be able to hit us on the transition very quickly, and we do take probably it's not much, but 3 or 4 seconds longer than we should to get our shape back defensively, and that can be exploited.
Okay.
And I know I've said it before, obviously you guys completely different opinions to me, but it will play in your favour tomorrow if Rob Hunt plays, because what you guys had and what you got out of him is completely different to what we've been getting. I don't know if it's our style, where we're playing him, or what, but yeah, he's probably our weaker link.
Okay. Well, Woody, I was going to bring you in anyway, but if you want to
talk about the match tomorrow, then.
Do you want to talk about Rob Hunt first, Woody?
Well, he was always a better fullback, and I'm pretty sure you've been paying him as right centre back, which is probably where you're going wrong. I think he played centre back for us for like about 4 games, and I think we were surprised at how well he did there. But I think he was helped out by the players he was playing with. But for me, he's a fullback all day long, so that's where you're going wrong, because I fucking love Rob Hunt. So leave him alone.
Waiting to speak to some of you, like your Swindon fans, waiting for Team Bus when we came up to your place, the FA Cup. They were all exactly the same, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's not necessarily the player; it's the position he's been asked to play. Because at times, when he does get himself, if we do play him, even the right of the 3, or even as we play him as wing back, he does get very caught out of like, well, I want to defend, but I know I need to attack. Where should I be? And a few times we have played him at what is old school right back, he's been much better. So although I do maintain he's one of our weaker links, that's not necessarily down to his footballing ability. That's more down to our style. He doesn't quite fit.
Woody, we've already had a couple of the guys mention, but the fact that we did go through an FA Cup game with 10 men for the most part, extra time penalties, and not just the physical turmoil that would put them under, but the mental anguish, only worsened by the fact that they know that had they been able to do their jobs and actually take penalties, then we might have been playing Liverpool away in a few weeks. What are you expecting, not so much performance-wise, just lineup-wise tomorrow? Are you sensing changes or not? And he's just going to keep sticking the same players out, believing that to be his 11?
Yeah, I don't envisage there'll be too many changes because it is a league game at the end of the day.
We did learn last year under Flynn that professional footballers can't play twice in a week, though.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think, I don't know, I try to put myself in Holloway's head, which is weird because all I'm getting is ghosts and weird music. But I just think that I got a feeling he'll go quite strong, well, his strongest, and probably go quite attack-minded, despite us being away, because the expectation will be is we kind of reserve ourselves and kind of let Colchester have a lot of the ball, because we played 120 minutes on Saturday. But I would quite like, I kind of think that he might try to catch it out a little bit and maybe kind of go for it for 45 minutes, make a couple of changes at half time to those more fatigued players, and then make another 3 at 60 minutes type thing. Because I think he'll want to try and get the game wrapped up. But the problem is that really does dwell down. I think he'll start Glatzel tomorrow at last. I think he will start him tomorrow because why wouldn't you start somebody who is relatively fresh still on a Tuesday night?
Probably because of his inability to take clear-cut chances.
true, but we're not many of our other strikers are scoring many goals at the moment either. So it's he's still got more goals than Shamanga and Drynan this year. So it's but equally, but it's inability to take clear-cut chances, but the other ones are currently offering us fuck all anyway. So it's I'd rather have somebody who can pepper someone like Rob Hunt, who is apparently obviously the weak link at right centre back. Where's Glatzel going to play? He's going to be on the left side of that three. Put Glatzel against him all day long, in my opinion. But you know, you never know. We might get another Glatzel assist, and we might get another level of Glatzel's work rate, which is probably he's probably still covered twice the amount of miles of everybody else has done in the team. So it's you're not going to convince me that he's not the right person to start when people still think that Shamanga is a footballer. So it's
okay. Let's get a feel for what will be a true advert of League Two football. How we are feeling for this game, Ned. Let's have a prediction from you, please, sir.
Prediction. Okay. All right. I'll predict that we will draw 2-2.
Okay. Arch.
I just can't go against us. I don't know why. I'm just such a mug.
Play to the whistle, Arch.
Fucking play to the whistle, Ned. Absolutely. If they play to the whistle, 3-2. If they don't, get the tennis balls out. No, 3-2 Swin.
Woody?
hate to say it, we are losing 1-0.
Si?
I think it's going to be pretty tight, tight for the first 45, and then we'll actually put out the bag a 3-1 win for us.
Mixed bag. I'm going to back Swindon for a win. I'm going to say 3-1 on the night, and our season turns on a cold, wet Tuesday night in Colchester. Si, thank you as ever, and I appreciate the fact that you even took heed of the early start and sat in the lobby listening to everything that was going on beforehand. So thank you as ever for your time, mate. We've got a few more things to discuss. We don't expect you to carry on sitting there and, there's the Moscone Cup if you want something a bit more interesting than us talking about the trials and tribulations of Swindon Town. But appreciate your time as always, mate. And we'll see you again. We'll obviously see you again soon because we'll play each other again in a few weeks.
Yeah, New Year's Day. Right. So, all the best, lads. And like I say, obviously, tomorrow's down to the football, but apart from that, let's hope you get this comedy sorted out.
Are you at the game tomorrow, Si?
Yeah.
If anyone go in, see Si about, give him a hi from FRI. There you go.
Just going like,
Cheers, Si.
Just say, cheers, lads. All the best. See you later. Bye.
Cheers, Si.
Cheers, Si.
Arch, were you in a rush to get Si off then?
Yeah.
He's up.
No, but I just realised how rude it looked. I'm having a shocker tonight.
I might not.
You wait until you see the Christmas special.
Cheers,
Well,
Si. I really hope that as a club you get this. So cheers, Si.
The worst thing is, I was actually trying to be polite and thank him for his time. Sorry, Si.
Elliot says, Pfeiffer, you predict us to win every game after doing 2 shows moaning about how shit we are. Yeah. It's true. And Pfeiffer said Swindon would win, game over, bottom of the league, says Pete. Before we get into other topics, we are now officially in December. Everyone should have their Christmas trees up. I presume everyone on the panel now does have their Christmas trees up. But obviously December is often a difficult time for people as well. And as we've always said on FRI, we are more than willing to promote and discuss and talk about various charitable things going on in the community just to highlight the good that it does. There's been a couple that have been highlighted to me. I just want to make sure I get this information right. So the first one is coming out of Swindon itself. Basically, I know OSC mentioned it earlier, but it's to do with members donating toys previously to the Great Western Children's Ward. This year, the club will be funding the activity, and there's also been some changes in hospitals' requirements. They're aware that members like to contribute to the cause at Christmas, and so the club have reached out to Swindon Women's Aid to obtain a wish list so that they can fulfill for their service users. There is a graphic which I will put out on our social media when I get a clearer copy that basically says what the wish list is. It's got a list of things for the children that they're looking to support, and also the women that they're looking to support as well. They are asking for donations to be received by Thursday, the 12th of December, if you're able to, at the club reception, or they can be taken in at the OSC table in the Legends Lounge at the game on the 7th versus Fleetwood. So if you are able to and can, please do support that. We also know, and we've spoken about it before, and I know it's one that WASA does stuff with at Save on Tyres as well. It's the Swindon Toy Appeal that over the last 5 years has raised over £17,000. Again, we'll be putting all the details out for that as well. Again, I've not always sent the best quality pictures to get the message across properly. So once I've got all the clear graphics and stuff, they'll go out on all of our socials to spread the word. But if you know of anyone else, any other organisations that are doing stuff that could do with just an extra shout out somewhere, then do let us know. We are more than happy to promote all of these kind of charitable ventures as best as we possibly can. I mean, where do we go next? We've got the weekend to talk about, but I mean, Arch, let me start with you. Before we talk about the actual game at the weekend.
Sure about that?
Yeah, I am sure, because I know that you will have an answer prepared for this question. The FA Cup draw was made tonight, and of course, Accrington got Liverpool away. In your house particularly, that must be particularly gutting.
Yeah, the reactions were, I hate this club right now. Pretty much.
Understandable.
Yeah, Dill was absolutely gutted. And he's been, honestly, for as long as we've been going, he's been saying, I'd just love to watch Swindon and Liverpool play. I don't even know who I'd support on the day. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, it's a bit of a hard one to take that, to be fair, but it is what it is, isn't it?
No, absolutely.
And it would have been, Mulfooney could have had some of his money back. It might have speeded up the sale process, but there we go.
Yeah, quite clearly. Would as nice as it would be, we all remember, obviously, Man City at home a couple of years ago. Would Liverpool away have just been a distraction from the much more important stuff?
Possibly. I mean, obviously, it would have been nice to have a Cup day from that. There might have been an opportunity for it to be on television as well, because that seems like the type of weird game that they would decide to televise. But it's but I think if you ask a lot of fans, one thing that we would have really liked is a cup run. I'm not saying that sacrifice for our league status, of course not. But what I mean is that it could be good to get some sort of joy anywhere possible. And I think, potentially going to Liverpool would be great, because there are a lot of Liverpool fans in the Swindon fan base as well. So it would have been a nice, distraction's the right word. It would have been a nice distraction though, because we would obviously go there with no really chance of winning, so we're just enjoying the occasion rather than necessarily worrying about the way this season's gone. So there was another club, I can't remember, it must have been about between 5 and 10 years ago now that they were kind of near rock bottom of either League One or League Two, and I'm sure they got someone like Man United away in the FA Cup, and you just saw what it did, and it did save their season. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was racking my brains earlier, and it arguably saved their season because
sounds like
they
an
were
MK Dons move. That
yeah. So, but I think realistically, even at this stage, yes, the money's good, but it wouldn't have been enough for me, I don't think, to boost the cash pot that much, especially if the club are operating a potential £1 million loss or whatever every season. We wouldn't have recuperated that in one game. So we would have, I think, had to go the next stage further, which is why I always say in round 3, I'd rather play a Tamworth or someone like that, just to keep racking up the prize money. Tamworth again would have probably been that will be a televised game, I think. I'm pretty sure of it, because they've got Tottenham, and so I would have rather had a we didn't even get through, so I don't even know why I'm thinking about it, but I would have personally rather had like a team that we are probably more likely to beat, just to build up that prize pot.
And Ned, Woody mentioned it there. You look, and it is a decent draw, all things considered. I mean, take out the Man United Arsenal element. Tamworth got Spurs at home. Morecambe got Chelsea away. Salford got Man City away. Bromley got Newcastle away. Lots of League Two clubs getting lots of paydays there.
Yeah, it could have been us. But as I said to the guys on the WhatsApp, with everything that's going on with our league campaign at the moment, I know it's the the hindsight sort of way of looking at things, but a Liverpool away fixture, how would that have affected our league form? I know that it could inspire the players to play better, to try and get into that team to start against Liverpool, granted. But at the same time, would the players then put in those challenges to not get yellow cards to make sure that they, to get, that they play in that game? So I feel like it's kind of like, it would have been a lovely payday. It would have been a day out. We would have got knocked out at Liverpool, quite clearly. We can't beat bloody Accrington. We can't beat Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? But, I think possibly, with hindsight, maybe it's probably a good thing so we can focus on making sure we can turn our league form around. And that's as positive as I could possibly be with that.
On the game itself, obviously none of us were at Accrington on Saturday, but we were following social media, listening on the radio, etc., seeing the highlights. It's always difficult to say it in what's ultimately a defeat, Arch, I suppose, but some have commented best performance under Holloway, the battling spirit with 10 men to even get to a penalty shootout when they were at the disadvantage for as long as they were. Some positives to take?
Yeah, well, yes, but it's always harder to play against 10, as we've been told so many times. But maybe you should start with 10 on Saturday. I don't know. But no, in all seriousness, from what I've heard, it was a lot better. The performance was a lot better than it has been. Even Holloway said himself, didn't he? His best performance since he's been here.
Is someone taking off?
Oh, that's probably my washing machine.
Oh,
sorry.
Is the fan belt gone?
Oh dear. Yeah, sorry. I'll mute myself. Sorry, apologies.
You'd like to think so, but again, yeah, they might perform well, but it's a Tuesday night. They played on Saturday. I'm assuming Butterworth's red card gets carried into in the FA Cup rather than it doesn't in the Carabao or whatever it's called, or whatever the other one is. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know, mate.
And Woody,
Oh,
You're
sorry.
one of the. Oh, go on.
I did just put something that Low Stranger Fanzine put out earlier about the prize money that we would have got. There was a quick Google to give you an idea on what the costs are, and they would have got apparently 45% of the gate of a 61,000 stadium.
Nice.
And a few other prizes. I think 25 grand for a lot, I think it said. And 125 grand if it was televised. So, yeah, it could have made a massive difference. Argue it. You could even say if I could put the kids out. I don't know how true that is, but yeah, you could argue. Well, put the youth team out, have a run, get beat 12-0, and take the money.
That's the spirit, because that went so well against Reading last year, didn't it?
Bit earlier though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It certainly was difficult.
They certainly won that sort of money on the table for that, mate.
No.
So yeah.
Woody, obviously the title of tonight's episode is more of a jovial nod to our weekend as much as anything. But on the subject of big, powerful target men, me and you have both criticised one Mr. Smith for basically being one of those strikers that, apart from scoring goals, what else does he do? Unfortunately for Swindon on this occasion, he had the big moment and didn't score a goal.
Or a penalty.
Yeah,
That's what I meant, Arch.
Yeah,
He missed another one as well, though, didn't he? I think
missed a one-on-one, didn't he? I overheard. But then so did Glatzel, but only Glatzel gets rinsed for those type of things. But it's, I think, yeah, and this was going to be the underwhelming problem, wasn't it? Is when Harry Smith starts not scoring, what happens to? What makes me laugh is that the two centre backs that we weren't thinking were going to be fit for this type of season have scored a goal each in the last two games. With Hall and Delaney as well, so it's kind of, it was always going to be the issue. I'm not necessarily I don't want to sit here and slate Smith because evidently it sounds like he also had an all right game, apart from missing a one-on-one and missing a penalty. But his his job is to score goals, and he's now not doing it. It's a difficult one to comment realistically, because again, he is the outlet at the moment that we're relying on. But we did score two. We still scored two on Saturday. We still got. Hall's goal was quite decent. It was a good head. And
it caused some confusion on the sidelines at Bassett, didn't it? Because we saw that Butterworth got sent off and Hall scored. Yeah. We assumed that they'd been announced the wrong way round.
Yeah, as well. Sorry,
mate.
I think Smith got the assist, didn't he? As well.
Yeah, Joe was very quick to point that out when I dared criticise Smith.
Did he get the assist?
Yeah,
I'll have to look that back. And then I was quite impressed with Cottrell's goal. It's something that we don't do enough of. A little bit of a kind of hit and hope, but it's it was kind of quite an awkward angle between the two defenders. So, but yeah, it is what it is. If Smith, is Smith going to get criticism if he goes another 2 or 3 games without scoring a goal? We got to bear in mind this is only one game without scoring a goal. He did score a week before, didn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago now.
Yeah. So if he doesn't score tomorrow and then doesn't score Saturday, that's 2 games where he hasn't. That's 3 games in a row where he hasn't scored a goal. So, it begs the question. It begs the question of where the goal's going to come from that front line.
No, absolutely. Ned, obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing. Knowing the outcome now, would you have rather it just happened in 90 minutes as opposed to having that extra opportunity to qualify and basically exerting a lot of energy for the non-desired outcome?
Yeah, you would do, wouldn't you? That's what's so cruel about it. It's so cruel that, with a couple of minutes to go in extra time, that's when we concede the equaliser. It's just so unfortunate. I thought we started so well. We created so many chances, considering the majority of the games with 10 men. Because I noticed that the Stanley, they they changed two of their defenders. They took two of the big men out. So obviously Holloway was whipping in the boxes as much as possible. And, you know, it probably wasn't the most attractive thing to look at in the world, but it was effective. And we created a lot of chances by doing it. So, you know, honestly, fair play to the boys. They really put in a shift. And also as well, because it was said in the WhatsApp group that Bycroft was at fault for both of the goals. And I was like, that wasn't the case at all. Bycroft in the first goal made a good save and was let down by the defenders because they didn't get the, oh my God, my words are escaping me right now. Obviously, being the most uneducated person on Fools, sometimes this does happen to me.
And that joke will only make sense in about 4 weeks.
Oh yeah, yes. Spoiler alert. But yeah, basically, defenders not reacting quick enough was the fault of the first goal. Second goal, I mean, obviously fatigue is obviously kicking in. Playing 10 men for 60 minutes in that game. So it's we definitely did enough to win, and we deserve to win the game. But it's just, I mean, whatever can go wrong can go, with Swindon, goes wrong and in the worst possible way. And I think that's sort of proved itself at the weekend, which is just so unfortunate. And also, it must be mentioned as well that Sobowale coming back into the team after his hiatus in the last game, he sounded like he did unbelievably well. So fair play to him. He could be a stroppy getting, throw his toys out the pram, but he's obviously worked hard in training this week and got in the team, and he made it sound like he made a real big impact on the right wing and also at centre back. So fair play to him. But yeah, there we go. I'm not sure what the question originally was now, but there we go.
Arch, a simpler one for you. And I'm probably biased on account of I don't particularly rate him, but the way that the commentary came across to me is Bycroft got nowhere near the penalties. What's your belief when it comes to penalty shootouts? Is the goalkeeper in a win-win situation where they're not expected to save them? And if they do, then great, they've got lucky. Or do you think that it's a 50-50 split, that they're just as likely to save as the attacker is to score?
Yeah, I suppose there's argument for that. I always get more frustrated with the people taking it than the keeper. If I'm honest, I just, where people do like these stutters and all that sort of stuff, I just think just pick a fucking corner and hit it as hard as you can. I just don't get that. It's certainly within a game. Mm-hmm. The harder you hit it, it's either going to go out for a corner or they might not save it, it rebounds and you can score off of that. I just don't understand these, like, let me see if I can fool you and tap it in gestures. It just doesn't make any logistical sense to me, to be fair. So yeah, I kind of get more frustrated with the ones taking it than the keeper. I think, they've always got it in their head which way they're going.
Yeah. And
that's kind of it. And if they go the right way, great. From what I saw in the replay, because I didn't listen to the penalties because I pissed off to the pub because I'd had enough by then. And so fuck it, I'm going to the pub and have some tea. I don't know, with Smith, it was almost like if he'd have actually put it along the floor, down the middle, it'd have been all right.
Yeah.
Because I think it caught the keeper's left leg. Did the keeper dive to the right, I think?
I'm going to go yes.
Because it came off the keeper's leg, didn't it? So where he was diving, if it actually put it across the floor, it would probably gone in. But that's probably the worst place, in my opinion, you could put it down the middle if someone's diving. Yeah. So yeah, it was like, I don't like people that go down the middle anyway, to be fair. I've seen fucking pick a corner and go for it. But yeah, I think he probably put it statistically in the worst place that you could put a penalty for it to potentially get saved.
Well, that brought to an end another FA Cup dream for Swindon Town, and now we're just left to concentrate on survival and, of course,
Against League
game,
One.
game versus League One Wickham. Who
We're at the top, aren't they?
I was going to say, if I remember correctly, they're top of League One Wickham.
Yeah.
Could be facing bottom of League Two Swindon in the next round of the what's it now? The
Virtue.
Virtue. Thank you.
We actually did all right against Wickham pre-season last season, wasn't it? We played them, I think.
Yeah, because we all know what pre-season means.
But,
And we got a whole new squad now.
And we got a whole new squad now.
Exactly, yeah.
Woody, let's round tonight's marathon episode off with a little wander into non-league and women's football. We spent the afternoon at Bassett on Saturday. Very entertaining game, both on and off the pitch.
Yeah.
We're having a right laugh. My first time at Bassett, I enjoyed it. And it wasn't a bad game, really, either.
No, it was a good game. Obviously, we were stood with Chris Zabrowski's other half, I'm going to say, because I'm not sure if they're married. But yeah, it is always entertaining to stand next to, dare I use the terminology, wag nowadays.
Yeah.
It is always
especially when they're being described in the programme as a big, powerful target.
Target man, and he spent half the first half on the floor. But yeah, it was funny. Obviously it's non-league football for me. It was quite a typical non-league game. They had a sending off, and then Bassett just kind of dominated possession and just took full advantage. Really, probably could have had a couple more, to be fair. But yeah, it's always nice because, like you say, it's good for me from my point of view for the kids because they can go up and run around and piss me off and do whatever they want. But which is, unfortunately, when you go to watch professional football, you don't quite have that flexibility.
I also don't remember a time watching Swindon or anyone else where I've inadvertently seemed to offend Jonathan Wilkes.
Yes, of course he was there because I forgot his son plays for Bassett, and obviously his son used to play for Swindon. Yeah, that was probably one of my highlights. Actually, was when you were saying that's not Jonathan Wilkes. I'm like, it is Jonathan Wilkes.
I mean, to be fair, you changed your mind twice as well.
Yeah. But you were adamant.
I was adamant until he was stood next to us.
Yeah. But yeah, it was always good. It was quite funny as well because obviously Sir Don and John Trollope were watching, as they regularly do when Swindon are away. And I somehow found, because obviously my little one went and she had her Swindon top on, and Don Rogers, whilst they were sat out there, went, "Oh, she's got a Swindon top on," and obviously really happy about it. And I somehow found the restraint not to ask him about the current situation or the orange hat, or ask him
if he's going to be wearing an orange hat.
But yeah, it was a good day out. Obviously, we had our Fool's Rush Christmas night out.
Christmas night out in Old Town the night before,
yeah, which was obviously banging as well. So
everyone on screen tonight was there.
Yes, we were, and more. But yeah, it was a very good night as well, and then followed up by a good Bassett win. So happy with that.
Absolutely. And a little look into women's football as well. I saw there was no first team fixture for Swindon. The development side conceded I'm going to say late, because I don't remember if it was quite injury time, but they conceded a late goal to ultimately lose their game 4-3 off the top of my head.
Yeah, so they were actually 3-1 up in the 82nd minute, I believe, and then lost 4-3. So quite a comeback from Moneyfields, to be fair to them. I would have expected Swindon Devs to beat Moneyfields because I don't think the reserves are anywhere near the quality of the first team side. But from memory, I can't remember if Moneyfields' first team had a game either. So we don't know if there was a bit of, a couple
squad
of players.
Rotation.
Yeah, squad rotation potentially. I mean, knowing Carl, he wouldn't have done a full whammy of that, I doubt. But there might have been a couple of players that have been a bit restricted for minutes or whatever. And then I know that Swindon, the first team, played a friendly against Oxford United behind closed doors. They lost 3-1, I think. So yeah, it's not all bad.
Speaking of teams that play in blue and yellow, Bassett did have a game this weekend. You were headed Bristol way, and Caitlin approaches 100 goals for the season, and Maddie can't stop scoring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a very interesting game in terms of we got there. Let's put it this way: I didn't go into the dugout because it was that muddy, and I obviously had my new Puma King boots on, which I spent this morning trying to clean. It was a pitch that was. It was one of those that you rocked up and you could tell the pitch hadn't been played on, because every other pitch, because it's quite a big setup down there, every other pitch was just brown. And then this one wasn't that much better. But we went 1-0 down actually, and then brought it back. I think Caitlin scored first, and then Maddie scored a header. And then we probably dominated the second half, despite not being able to play the football that we're used to playing. We had to kind of adapt a little bit to the situation. You could see why teams that have gone there have struggled to win. And then an absolute. I think Rich named it a bit of a hit and hope, but I don't want to take credit away from the player. We've not even given her that much time on the ball. She's taken a touch from about 25-30 yards out and just absolutely rocketed it. So fair play to them. And then they saw it out. Then we drew 2-2, but it wasn't a bad. I don't think we've necessarily played badly. It wasn't a bad performance, but it was definitely we would have liked more. Obviously, everybody would like more to win, but it's not necessarily a bad point on the road against a team that will take points off others at their home ground.
No, absolutely. I think over 2 hours, that's the perfect time to call this one. Gents, thank you for your time. A big thank you to Dan, to Terry, to Sai for all spending time with us today as well. If you are traveling tomorrow, the one thing I haven't mentioned that I did see, if you are traveling to the game tomorrow, a joint sort of club and OSC initiative, they're expecting it to be cold, so there is an option to have a tea, coffee, hot chocolate paid for you if you go and see. I want to say Chris or Vicky are going to be there doing it, so go and see them, and they will sort that out for you.
Might drive all the way to Colchester just to get a free tea or coffee
on the OSC. But yeah, if you are traveling, as we always say, travel safe first and foremost. Be loud, be proud, and please bring home the points for us. We really do need them. We will be back on Friday. We're not entirely sure in what guise. We'll be back on Friday because I was having the night off and Woody was hosting. But now Woody might not be available, but Lads Night might be cancelled, so I might be available again. If not, I'm sure Kieran will be here.
It's a mystery.
And if Kieran's not here, then Craig will do it. If Craig's not, fuck it, someone else will step up. Somehow, Fools Rush In will be back on Friday. Gents, thank you very much. Ned, do you want to host on Friday? No, okay.
Don't even ask me.
No.
If me, Woody, Craig, Kieran, and Rich are all unavailable, then Arch is next in line to step up to host. That's fine.
If none of you are available, it ain't happening.
Never fear. FRI will be back, usual time, 9 p.m. Friday night. Have a great week, everyone. We will see you on the other side of Colchester. Good night.
Some say that only fools rush in, but that's not the case with the mighty twin. Our podcast is a platform with differing views. We're mostly overweight, have beards and problems with booze. When in town are currently playing shit, but we will still be here talking about it. Middle-aged men making random calls. Oxford and Bristol can go suck on a ball. We don't like to judge shit on falls rushing. We don't like We're slick like